The Atlanta Braves just got swept by the San Diego Padres. First time this season they've been swept in a series. What do you do now? Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on into Braves Today, a production of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You're going to get some injured players back somewhat soon, right? We're going to start talking about some of the injury rehabs and how those are going and changes the team is making personnel-wise. But before we do that, Braves lost last night to the San Diego Padres 5-2. Cemented a sweep for the Padres. First time this season Braves been swept. And locked in a 4-game losing streak. First time this season they've lost 4 straight games. And so it feels like rock bottom right now for a lot of Braves fans. From an offensive perspective, from a win-loss perspective, the record in the division, the lead in the division is now 4.5 games. It was 9.5 games after the first week of June. So the Braves have lost 5 games in the standings in the span of, I can't even do math in my head, like 13 days, 13 games or whatever. They've lost that much time in the standings, that much ground in the standings. You know what I mean? Let's talk about what happened in San Diego. Let's talk about, is there a way to fix this? And what has to be done? Because when you look at these games, 1-0 in game 1, Michael King is dominant over the Braves. Grant Holmes doesn't pitch badly, but takes a loss there. Game 2, 7-6, right? Big inning for Atlanta. Big inning for San Diego. You end up blowing the lead with the bullpen. And then game 3, to me, was the worst of all of them, right? It's one thing to let Michael King be dominant and shut you out for 7 innings like he did, right? 6 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. It's one thing for him to do that. It's another thing for J.P. Sears to do that. I did the scouting report yesterday, and in the scouting report, we talked about his record in AAA, or his ERA in AAA was 7.92. He was barely striking out 20% of hitters he faced in AAA. And what happens in Atlanta, or versus Atlanta, is he goes 5 2/3, allows 2 runs on 5 hits, walks 2, strikes out 5. The only real damage allowed is Joey Bart hits a 2-run homer in the 6th inning. That's it. He's holding them scoreless through 5. And yeah, game 2 was blown by the pen, right? The whole Carlos Carrasco in high leverage, because Suarez was injured. They didn't want to go to Fuentes. Like, all the guys they didn't have available. Game 2 was lost because of that. But games 1 and 3 are on the offense. And that's been the problem here, right? Like, Martin Perez yesterday, first time I think all season, he didn't finish 5 innings. He gets hit with a comebacker in the back of the leg, but whatever. And isn't the same guy after that, ends up walking 4 batters in the game, doesn't face 2 batters in the 5th, but doesn't get out of the 5th inning. He wasn't great yesterday. At the same time, it wasn't his fault. Like, you can't, 3 runs from your starter, even if it's only over 4 innings, should not be bad enough for you to lose a game. But your offense just can't seem to figure out a guy who barely got through the AAA season without getting DFA'd. Again, he had a 792 in AAA. Now, Is that a little high? Yeah, the expected ERA was 5.70. The FIP was 5.50. But come on. Atlanta's offense has to be better. And the trend here, like, the Braves are saying the right things, right? They've lost 10 in the last 13. Again, the lead has shrunk from 9.5 games to 4.5 games. And the offensive stuff, there's a lot of fingers you can point. Most of the guys on the roster you can point fingers at. But the biggest things that stand out is, one, the absences of top players, right? Ronald Acuña Jr., he has not been having the Ronald Acuña Jr. type season you expect. It's hard. You can't deny that has not been the thing. But he is out right now. They don't have a conventional leadoff hitter without Ronald Acuña Jr. He's probably not going to be back until after the All-Star break. The Braves have given every indication that they want to make this, they want this to be a longer-term recovery and rehab so that there's no worries about recurrence, since his hamstring issue's in the same place it happened last time. So he's probably out for close to another month. Drake Baldwin was out. And then when he came back, his bat still has been out, right? So he went out on May 19th, and he came back June 15th, nearly a full month with an oblique strain. And then when he came back, first game, first at-bat, he hits a home run. Since then, he's 1 for 31 with 19 strikeouts. They give him the day off yesterday. He comes in as a pinch hitter in the 6th. He strikes out. And Mark Bowman of MLB.com had a great stat. Through May 18th, which is the day that Drake Baldwin strained his oblique, Atlanta had a 765 OPS as a team, third best in baseball. Since that day, so 31 games, it includes the time he was out and what he's played since he come back. Since that day, 680 OPS. It went from third best to fourth worst. And Walt Weiss said it, quote, "We have the personnel. It's the same personnel that was really good the first couple months or month and a half. They're going to come around, but right now we're having a hard time." I will say, and that's going to frustrate some people, right? That quote about, hey, they're going to figure it out, that's going to bother some people. Because there are people who want to see massive, earth-shattering trades done. And the fact of the matter is, right now, the AL has been so bad, and the NL has been so good, that just about every team is still in it. You have seen very few deals made, and even less of those have been impactful. The most significant deal that I can think of, and I don't even want to call it that significant, is David Peterson of the Mets was traded yesterday to the Cubs. I don't even think that's official yet. And the Cubs traded a first base and DH prospect in Cole Mathis. And Peterson has made 8 starts. He's covered 68 innings this year between his bullpen work and his starting work. And he has a 6.09 ERA. So it's not like he's an impact piece. It's too early in the season for the trades. I know that people want the Braves to shake it up and do a big trade. It's not out there. There's not a big trade to be made right now. They've got to do it with the guys they have. A month from now, yeah, you'll see some big trades made. Maybe Atlanta will make one. Maybe they won't. But right now, you got to do it with the guys you have. The Braves are going through a slump. They're really struggling. Walt Weiss acknowledged that, right? There's ebbs and flows to every season. Quote, "The teams we're playing are catching us at a good time for them. It's all about when you play teams. It's really not necessary who you're playing. It's always about when you play teams in this league. We're down right now. We're struggling a little bit on both sides with pitching and scoring runs. It's not going to last." Braves are off today. They'll be in San Francisco for the off day. Typically, the way the teams do this is they fly out the night after the game. They'll head to San Francisco, off day today. They'll start a series tomorrow against the Giants. Let's talk about that series. Let's talk about what the Braves are going to do. Let's talk about how they're going to fix this. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, this episode's brought to you by our friends at IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom-infused coffees are the tasty, low-sugar brain and body fuel that you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack's a great way to try all of the IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. And all IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom-infused coffees. And the Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. Right now, IQ Bar is offering Braves Today listeners 20% off of all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB to 64000. That's MLB to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. The Braves, not so hot right now. They get to go to the Giants this week, who are also having a terrible season, but also won the first 2 games of a rain-shortened series in Atlanta last week, right? Remember, they stopped Tuesday's game after an inning and a half, resumed the next day. Atlanta lost the resumption and then turned around and lost the nightcap too. And then game 3 was banged for rain and is going to get made back up, I think, next month. And there's a whole list of things you got to fix. Right? There's a whole bunch of things Atlanta needs to figure out for this series. Their rotation is going to be Ronaldo López remember they optioned down J.R. Ritchie. Ronaldo López will be making the start on Friday. He told reporters the goal was 60 pitches, 3 or so innings. So it's a de facto bullpen game, which means Bryce Elder will start with 1 extra day of rest on Saturday. We've talked about this. We've talked about the need to keep him on a schedule, but he'll get 1 extra day of rest and start on Saturday. And Chris Sale will start on Sunday. San Francisco has not yet announced their starters, but it lines up to be Trevor McDonald against Lopez, Logan Webb against Bryce Elder, so shout out to the sinker ballers there, and Robbie Ray versus Chris Sale. So it'll be, again, Lopez McDonald. It'll be 2 sinker ballers and 2 lefties. Okay, fun series. This feels like an important series. Here's the thing. Here's what's wild about this. If the Braves win 4 games, they have 4 games left in the month. If they win the 4 games, they are winning record in the month of June. Things have been bad for the Braves. They're 8-11, right? They've been outscored 86-69. They are 4 wins away from a winning record in the month. They're going to have to do some different things. Offensively, thing number 1 I think they need to do this weekend is more playing time for Joey Bart. I'm not just saying this because he hit a home run last night. It doesn't hurt, right? There's a couple reasons why I think you got to play Joey Bart more. The first one is the fact that, 1, it's him going back to San Francisco, try to harness that revenge game thing, right? Let's try to see if we can get the revenge thing going on here. But 2, you don't really have a lot of other better options. I am not opposed to the concept of Drake Baldwin and Joey Bart splitting time at catcher and DH. Now, is that hard to do without a third catcher on the roster? Yeah, it absolutely is. But right now, who feels like they deserve playing time at DH over Joey Bart? Is it Dominic Smith? Because guess what? He's hitting 194 with a slugging lower than his on base in the last 30 days. He has a 264 on base and a 258 slug. Does he deserve playing time at DH based on those numbers over Joey Bart? At shortstop, Mauricio Dubón has been the guy you need to put there. He has an OPS of 800 in the last 30 days. He's hitting 275. Because we all know what Ha-Seong Kim is, right? We all know he's 1 for 31 in the last 30 days. Jorge Mateo is hitting 213 with a 628 OPS in the last 30 days. Now, that's only 47 at-bats is the problem. He does have 2 homers in that span. But you have to be willing to try some different things, to shake some things up. And one of the things, maybe it means going ahead and bringing back Kyle Farmer, right? You bring back Kyle Farmer instead of having him continue to do rehab games in Double-A behind the plate. He's working as a catcher in his rehab games because the Braves want him to be comfortable if they need to use him as an emergency third catcher. And I want everybody to remember, this is not some weirdly speculative thing that they're just trying to see if he can adjust to this for the first time in his career. He's played catcher in the majors, right? He has 19 career appearances behind the plate from early in his career in the majors. In the minors, he has a lot more. He was drafted and came up as a catcher before he moved to other positions, right? In the minors, Kyle Farmer has 320 starts and 2,783 innings behind the plate. Now, in the majors, he didn't do a lot of it because he was playing shortstop and first and second and third. But he's a true utility man. He's not giving you much of anything offensively. I don't think anybody expects that. But right now, it appears that you have a lot of options at DH, and none of them are that great. Dom Smith has been struggling. You need Mike Yastrzemski in the outfield because you don't have Ronald Acuña Jr., right? If your best configuration is Yastrzemski and Eli White surrounding Michael Harris with Dubon at short, then you need to be able to use a Joey Bart at DH or a Drake Baldwin at DH and have Bart behind the plate. The problem here is, I said it in the first segment, problem here is you got to fix this yourself. You're not fixing this with a trade in late June. There's just not pieces being moved that will meaningfully change things. And besides, you might as well get Joey Bart comfortable because the word on Sean Murphy is they're thinking it could be the second half of August before he's back from the fractured middle finger on his left hand. And he's not doing baseball activities. And so you might as well get Joey Bart comfortable and be prepared to use him a couple times a week in the lineup until even after Drake Baldwin gets going again, which eventually he will. Drake Baldwin will get going again. We got to remember that he is a very talented player, right? This is not something where it's a guy who was hitting over his head and he's being exposed as not a quality hitter. Since he returned from the injured list, he has 32 at-bats. And again, it's been bad. 2 for 32, 19 strikeouts. He has more 3-strikeout games since he came back off the injured list than he had the entirety of his major league career before. I'm almost at the point, too, of thinking about calling up somebody out of AAA, right? It's at the point where I understand the clubhouse aspect. I'm not saying that's not. I understand Dominic Smith has been great in the clubhouse. I understand that they like having Rowdy Tellez, which, by the way, 2 lefty DHs is not really a tenable roster construction. Rowdy Tellez is probably the one that goes when Kyle Farmer's ready. And Kyle Farmer's really just there for insurance. I'm really starting to wonder how much longer you can keep the Ha-Seong Kim experiment going. And I'm at the point where I think that when you bring up an outfielder, that when you do move on from Ha-Seong Kim, it probably needs to be an outfielder. You probably need to give either Brewer Hicklin or Deshaun Kiersey some sort of run. You added them both to the roster. You have them both down there in AAA. They're on the 40-man roster. When you look at the options you have, Yastrzemski's a lefty, Eli White's a righty. Dubón obviously is a righty. He plays anywhere, right? But I'm thinking you bring up Brewer Hicklin. The thing with him is this is his final option year. You added him to the 40-man roster. You optioned him down so he couldn't exercise the opt-out. But this is his final option year. So bring him up, play him. Let's figure out if he's part of this major league roster or not. You can bring him up, and you can make Mauricio Dubón the starter at shortstop. You can bring up Jim Jarvis, and you can rotate between Mateo and Jarvis. You got to do something, though. It's not sustainable at this point anymore to just keep 2 DHs on the roster. When I say none of them are hitting, Rowdy Tellez does have a home run, but he's 2 for 10 or something. It's not anything exemplary, right? You're not going to be able to add players from outside. So you got to shake things up a little bit. We saw Walt try this in Game 1 in San Diego, right? He threw Dominic Smith into left field. He started Tellez at DH, right? He did a little bit of different stuff. He moved Dubón back to the infield for a day. And it seemed to work. They had a big offensive inning. But we're at the point where you've got to be willing to do more, right? You've got to be willing to make some more significant changes. And there's not really many other levers you can pull to fix the offense. Your choices are A, run the same guys back out there and wait for them to work out of it. Or B, take the lowest performing ones that are not long-term fixtures from a contract perspective and cycle them out. Those are your 2 options. You run the same guys out there and you wait for things to get better, or you try to push it along by cycling out underperforming pieces. That's it. That's all you can do. Let's see what they do. In just a minute, got a little bit of injury update news. We'll talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby. And we got some injury updates, some good, some bad. I've already relayed the Sean Murphy and Ronald Acuña Jr. one. The big one that I think that stands out is AJ Smith-Shawver, right? So Ronaldo López is making a start this week. That was an abrupt transition. Trust me on this, okay? Ronaldo López is making a start on Friday. He may or may not be a permanent rotation addition, okay? Hurston Waldrop probably needs at least one more minor league start before the Braves are ready to bring him back. That's where he is. I imagine you're probably in a situation where, hey, you want to use him at least one more time. He pitched on the 21st. He threw 71 pitches. He made it through 4 2/3. Was 1 run on 2 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Looked pretty decent, right? And so you probably want to give him at least one more thing. And when he comes up, if he's ready and Ronaldo López is not, then that's probably the rotation spot, right? It's Waldrop stepping in for López in your rotation. And so your next guy on the block would be Grant Holmes. And that could potentially be the AJ Smith-Shawver spot, right? So friend of the show, Chad Bishop of the AJC, reported yesterday that he is doing a sim game today in Northport. He's scheduled to pitch 2 innings. And he had to clarify the way that he worded that article. It's not officially a rehab assignment. He said he put it in the article and they had to edit the article. and he said it on social media and had to clarify. It's not the official start of the rehab assignment, but it is the next step in his rehab. He had Tommy John surgery on June 9th. So he's just over a month out of it. He's coming up on 13 months out of it. And I believe he got an internal brace. Try to remember. I talked to some people about this. I believe it was an internal brace. Anyway. So when he starts doing that, the next step after sim games is officially starting the rehab assignment and getting into games. So let's assume he does 2 sim games. That takes him to the beginning of July. 30 days of rehab would be the start of August. Now, here's the thing. Guys coming back from elbow surgery can get up to 3 10-day extensions of the 30-day rehab timeline. So when he officially starts his rehab, you could see him in 30 days. You could see him in 60 days. And what the Braves could do, what could end up happening here, is he takes close to the full 60 days, and he comes up in September when the roster expands by 1 additional pitcher spot. And in that case, whether or not he's ready to start or be a reliever or whatever, the big thing there is you preserve the final minor league option for AJ Smith-Shawver. Because, again, he has 1 left because of how early you popped his options in his career. This season is his final, or he has 1 final option, and if you send him to the minors, like you did Hurston Waldrop, you use that option. Because that's the thing with Hurston Waldrop. This is his final option year. He has 103 days of service time, and he's about to be out of options, meaning next year he has to make the major league rotation. Or I guess in the bullpen. So AJ Smith-Shawver, they really need to make sure that they don't use his option. Because if they do, the next season you come into spring training with 3 rotation options that none of them have options, right? Because Elder's out of options. Waldrop wouldn't have options. Smith-Shawver wouldn't have options. You obviously can't send Grant Holmes or Ronaldo López down. Chris Sale, doesn't have them. You're not going to option down Spencer Schwellenbach. And so you'd be in a boat where you just would have all of these pitchers and you'd have to throw 3 starters into the bullpen. And we've seen at times this year when you have multiple long guys back there, it's really hard to make that work from a having enough leverage arms perspective, right? So I'm going to kind of watch what happens there. Reliever Danny Young, is a lefty, is on rehab right now. And he's on a 30-day rehab. I think that he would get extensions, even though he's not a starter, simply because he is coming back from that elbow surgery. But he's down in Columbus right now. He just pitched a scoreless inning, no hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. He faced 5 batters. I need to go check the box score and figure out what happened to the 5th batter. I think he hit him. I think it was like a walk and hit by pitch, but he also struck out 3. So you're going to have a lot of pieces coming available. And when that happens, you're in a weird place of Karinchak's optionable, Dylan Dodd's optionable, but Ian Hamilton's not. He pitched last night. Didier Fuentes has been good enough where you don't want to option him. Dylan Lee's been good enough where you don't want to option him. You can't option Kinley or Suarez or Iglesias. So, you could have 5 guys that you want to keep as leverage in Iglesias, Suarez, Lee, Kinley, Fuentes. And then Young is back. You can't option him. And then you still need to figure out a long man. If you add a rotation piece, you're moving Lopez or Holmes back there. It's trending like you're going to have a good problem. And that's not even counting Spencer Schwellenbach. So we'll see how the Braves handle this. We'll see what they do. But either way, really hope the off day today helps. We'll be back tomorrow to break down the Giants, maybe preview the trade deadline a little bit. Hey, in the next month, here's what the Braves need to be focused on position-wise. Here's the players that could conceivably come available with all the reporting that we have as far as who is and is not going to be traded. So maybe that's tomorrow. But until then, please like the video, please subscribe. We'll see you next time on Braves Today.